Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. Brought to you by Local 59 and their line of steel furniture. See it at local59.com. I'm Dean Gemmel, and in this edition, we caught up with Sherry Middaugh, 2003 Canada Cup winner and qualifier for this year's Tim Hortons Olympic Trials. Thanks for being on the show, Sherry. I appreciate your time. I look at your record so far. It seems like your team's off to a decent start. You won in Oslo. Runner-up in London to Deb McCormick, but you also squeezed in a prestigious fourth event win in Weston in late September. So from the looks of it, I'd say you're about 66% there. How do you guys feel?
Well, I mean, obviously, you want to win every game, but I think we're starting the season off on a good note. It's a challenging season just because there doesn't seem to be a lot of options for events this year, and that's one of the reasons we went to Oslo. But starting off in Oslo with a win and going 7-0 sure boosts the confidence.
You went to Norway early in the season, and you went to Japan last year. What does your team take away from the international events? How do they help you?
Well, I think just the more you can play the international teams and on different ice conditions, the more experience you're going to get. We've already done lots of touring throughout Canada and are familiar with the Canadian teams, but it's important just to see the international teams as well, because to compete at that level, you have to just see different styles of games and just the confidence that we know that we can play against those teams and beat them.
So what sort of different styles do you see when you're there? I mean, a lot of top curlers talk about that, and I know maybe a lot of fans may not quite understand completely what you mean when you say that.
Well, I don't think their styles are that much different as they used to be. In years past, because of their different ice conditions were a lot straighter. They weren't as consistent as ours, so they ended up playing a lot more open style and a lot of tap backs, so that wasn't as much of a finesse game. But now that the European teams are doing so much traveling around Canada and seeing our great ice conditions, and when we went to Oslo, the ice conditions were incredible for the limited resources that they had. So there's not as many differences as there used to be, but it's just the fact that we're familiar with the teams and can compete against them.
Do you ever worry that beating up a team from Italy isn't the best preparation for this year?
Well, I mean, it's nice to know that, we can put on a resume that we've beaten a team that's going to the Worlds. They might not have as much experience as we've had, but it's still nice knowing that we can compete on the international circuit. And you still have to, regardless if it's a team from Italy or a team from Canada, you still have to be focused for the game, and you never know what to expect.
Right. Hey, let's talk about the Olympic trials. Your team was the first to qualify for the event, I think, right? When you won the Canada Cup?
Yes, it was the very first team.
So you've had pretty much 2 years of prep for the trials. Has it felt a little bit like one big, long, extended warm-up?
Yeah, it's been almost 2.5 years, and my previous trips to the trials, we've had our spot later on, which is a huge pressure. So we didn't have that pressure because we got the first spot. So we didn't have to do the grueling schedule a lot of teams had to do, but we still had to try and gear our season towards peaking in December, which is very strange in a normal curling season.
It's a lot different time to be peaking for than normal, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Have you guys thought at all about the rest of the season or after the trials, or are you just totally focused on that event?
Well, we're totally focused on the trials, and I mean we're going to enter playdowns because you never know. We hope to have to drop out of our provincial playdowns, but no, we've geared this season up towards peaking in December, so maybe having to go, and that's one of the reasons we went to Oslo, is to try and get some quality games in early in the season, where normally we wouldn't start to play until October.
How would you feel about holding the Olympic trials a year before the Olympic Games instead of December and then off to the Olympics 2 months later?
Well, I think it's hard. I mean, obviously, Canada's system is designed so that you have a current team going to the trials. It's a whirlwind 2 months trying to, you're emotionally and physically. But the way the States is doing it is quite unique in the fact that they have the whole year to prepare. You look at some of the other countries like Scotland, they haven't determined their team, and they're not basing it on a team, they're doing individuals. So, I mean, each country is doing it a little bit differently, but I don't mind our system at all because it definitely sends the current team that's on a roll to the Olympics.
Right. I guess that is the advantage. I guess the only disadvantage will be if it's a team that doesn't have much international experience manages to win.
Right, and when you look at the teams at the trials, I would say the majority do have international experience. I mean, at different levels, but they do, and they've played the Canadian circuit for a number of years, so that's great experience.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's seen what happens when they've tried all-star teams in Canada knows what a disaster that can be. So picking single members is bizarre to me.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the way Scotland's doing it right now, and they haven't done very well on the money circuit, and you can just feel the intensity and the pressure that's on them as individuals.
Right.
So they're not playing as a team because they're out there to win their spot. And they're getting a phone call from their federation December 22nd, and all of a sudden they have to form a team and get ready for the Olympics.
That is a bizarre scenario to me, but
It's absolutely incredible, and I think they'll realize that that's not the best system, but I do believe Canada's got one of the better systems.
the women's game comes under criticism from time to time for being conservative. You know, you and Jennifer Jones are known as two of the more aggressive skips. Do you think that the top women's teams need to play less conservatively to make the women's game more popular?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. When you look at the Scott final last year with Jennifer Jones and Jen Hanna, that was an incredible final. I was very proud of both those teams because right from the very beginning, the very first rock, they both went aggressive at each other.
Right.
And a lot of great shots were made. I just think that we need to, as women curlers, we need to develop that finesse and kind of get our mind around the aggressiveness. We can play that game. It's just I think we're so used to playing other ladies' teams where it's a hit style, and if you're not used to playing, the finesse game, I guess your mind's not set to play that. So I think the more that you'll see a lot of ladies' teams going into men's spiels now, and as we're doing in November, we're in 2 men's spiels. So that gives us the experience to play, the junk game.
Right. And I think there's no question the women can play it. It just seems there's been a reluctance to play it in some of the big finals and things especially. Last year was an exception for sure. Hey, you met your husband Wayne and you moved from Saskatchewan to Ontario. What do you think are some of the differences between curling in Saskatchewan and in Ontario?
Well, I think, again, years ago, Saskatchewan was always known as the hit province, right?
Right.
And again, that's changing, and I think that just has to do with more of the Saskatchewan teams are now traveling outside the province and seeing the different styles of game. And I think to be successful, you have to be able to play all sorts of formats. You have to be able to hit and control the lead, but you also have to be able to generate points. And if you're not used to playing the finesse style and aggressive style, you get behind in a game, you're already lost because you only know the hit game.
Right. Okay, my last thing we do, Sherry, we do something we call the runback segment, where I give you one topic and you have 1 to 3 words to give me your thoughts on it.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Best win.
Best win. Oh, my goodness. I would have to say the Canada Cup.
Most disappointing loss.
The 2004 Scott Turner Hearts.
Kilts.
Like them.
Most underrated women's team.
Us.
Sorry?
Us.
Okay. Favorite athlete when you were growing up?
Rick Folk.
Rick Folk. Unbelievable. That's a curler. Holy smokes.
From Saskatoon.
Yeah, well, 1980, right? So.
Exactly.
Hey, thanks for your time, Sherry. I appreciate it. I know you're in Saskatoon next weekend. Is that right?
Yes, we are. We're leaving Thursday night.
Good luck there, and good luck at the trials. Hope you guys do well.
Thank you. I hope you do as well.
Thanks for joining me on the show.
Thanks, Dean.
That's Sherry Middaugh on The Curling Show, brought to you by Local 59. Desks, tables, and T-shirts are on the web at local59.com. Thanks for listening. Now enjoy some black pudding.
Ooh.